welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. We got the full CHGO White Sox crew back. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat reporter. And the man in the middle, and you could read Vinnie's latest article, which was posted today on allchgo.com.
Do you think if something like that happened during the Bulls dynasty days where the announcer says the man in the middle and then has to double back, you think Luke Longley has to backpedal into the tunnel?
And now, the man in the middle, out of number 30, where did Will Purdue go? Number 32, Purdue, Will Purdue.
He didn't go
Vanderbilt.
to Purdue.
Oh, just a second. I got to tie my shoe.
He went to Vanderbilt.
Okay. All right. And the man in the middle, Herb Lawrence.
Hello. You
can follow him at Ecknerwall23. We are glad you recovered from your procedure.
I mean, it wasn't nothing. I encourage everybody who is of age and the insurance will cover it, go and get a colonoscopy.
No offense, but you missed work.
I did.
So I mean, it wasn't nothing.
It was a sick day.
You know, I mean,
sick day.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think you should tell your bosses that. I mean, okay. All right. So Herb faked sick and also didn't actually get a colonoscopy.
I was literally out for like 40 minutes. Great sleep though.
Hey,
sleep.
We're glad you survived.
Yes.
Let's jump into what we're talking about today. We got two Bob Nightingale reports that mention the White Sox about where Tim Anderson will be in 2024 and the potential state of the budget. I know your favorite topic, Vinny, so it should be a good chat. And then we got some Mailbag Monday stuff to get into. We got two questions from our guy Shulo and our guy AJ. But before we get into that, my mother gave me a great gift. It was MLB trivia. She got it for $5 at the TJ Maxx.
Nice. She's a Maxinista?
No, she is. To the fullest. For $5.
Yep.
Got 250 questions about the MLB.
That's great. What bang for your buck?
6, 7. I have found 7 questions about the White Sox in the 250. I don't know what that percentage is. It's probably not good.
It's low.
And this is going to be a pretty easy icebreaker. But Herb.
Yes.
Who set the White Sox single-season home run record when he hit 49? In 1998.
Albert Bell.
See, what I was telling you earlier, there's just too many hints. 49 homers, the year, the White. Yeah.
But for most offensive categories, it's usually Frank Thomas. But, you know.
Not that one.
Not that one.
Another league leader. In 1990, Bobby Thigpen claimed the Major League single-season saves record with 57 for what team?
I'll go ahead and guess the Chicago White Sox.
Wow, you're so smart, Vinny.
That's just context clues, folks.
This one's barely even White Sox stuff. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. Before signing with the Mets, Herb, Tom Seaver served in what branch of the U.S. military?
I would say he's tall. The Air Force.
Nope. Happy Veterans Day, by the way. Marines.
Oh, wow.
Tom Seaver was a Marine.
Terrific.
We got. I'll save that one to Vinny.
Yeah.
What uniform number did the great or did the White Sox retire to honor pitching great Mark Burley?
56.
Oh wow! So you guys are doing really well.
Well, Herb got that one wrong.
Yeah, except for my Tom Seaver in the military.
You might want to save this one for the FOCO read. In 2015, Andrew Benintendi became the first SEC Player of the Year from what school?
Arkansas.
Woo
Pig Suey.
Save that for later because you could buy the bobblehead using code CHGO.
It could be a callback.
CHGO.com. Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, and then the final ones. How many major league teams did Hall of Famer Rich Gossage pitch for?
Oh, boy. The Goose.
I would say 9.
Ooh. Herb gets it.
Boom.
First guess?
First
wow.
guess.
I know he started with the White Sox.
Name them. You got one.
Oh.
Yankees.
Yeah.
Brewers?
No.
Cubs, 100%.
Cubs.
Where else did Rich Gossage pitch? I don't know. I'm pretty much tapped. It was before my time.
You guys are only getting 3?
You guessed the White Sox and the Cubs because he gave you the Cubs and that's it now?
Yep, that's it.
You got to guess some more. Let's go with the Giants.
Yep.
Hey.
Wow.
Let's go with the...
I'll go with the Padres. I'll go with that one.
Yep. He had a long career with the Padres.
Let's go with the Braves. No. Orioles?
No. You get another one wrong. We're done with guessing the Goose Gossage game.
Then I would go with the Pirates. Had an all-star year in 1977 and then was traded. Fifth in the... Oh, no, not fifth in the Cy Young. Was then fifth in the Cy Young with the Yankees. All right, so you're still alive. You got 2 more. Or 3 more.
Phillies.
No.
Oh, that's it. That was an unceremonious ending.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess
Yeah.
it was 3 strikes. And you guys kind of saved yourself with that one.
Yeah.
I thought it reset your strikes once Herb got the Pirates. But no, you guys didn't visit the AL West at all. Texas, Oakland, and Seattle.
Wow.
Yeah. Finally, who has pitched for more teams than any other player in Major League history?
Tommaso Marte.
No.
Edwin Jackson.
Edwin Jackson.
Yeah.
Who played for?
The White Sox.
The White Sox.
The Cubs.
The Cubs.
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
The Nationals.
The Blue
The
Jays.
The
Nationals.
Tigers.
The Blue Jays. I think.
The Dodgers.
The Diamondbacks. The Orioles.
Dodgers.
All right, this is becoming
A's.
dizzying. Yeah, the A's.
Padres.
And the Padres. It's very easy. Only,
I
I
just
think
think
more,
we should-
right?
We
The only
should name the
teams you
15 he didn't pitch for.
Yeah, the only teams you didn't get.
Rays?
The Rays?
Yeah.
We said that. We said Dodgers, right? Where else?
Dodgers, Rays. I heard White Sox, Diamondbacks. I heard Cardinals, Nationals.
About
heard
Blue-
Cubs. I heard Blue Jays. I heard Padres. I heard Baltimore, and I heard Oakland.
So how many teams are left?
I have no idea. I think
Okay.
I think you're just missing Detroit.
I said Tigers.
Oh, okay.
Did
There
I?
you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Washington. I think Washington.
I said the Nats,
Nats. You
too.
said the
Okay,
Nats.
then I'm sorry.
Come on, Sean.
The only team I think you didn't get was Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't get them.
No one got that.
There you go. Oh my God, Brian Shaw Fan Club is joining us. And see, I was reading all the stuff about Edwin Jackson, so you can know that I do not run that account. I don't run Brian Shaw Fan Club. So there's 2 of us. There's dozens. All right, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate you joining us for White Sox trivia. Let's jump into the first Bob Nightingale report because I think it's
Nugget. I'd call it a nugget.
a note in the notebook.
Yes.
Maybe that's more a preference because this is budget related because I think the TA one's a little bit more expansive. But here we go. Chris Getz obviously said the "I don't like my team" quote to you guys at the general manager meeting, and Bob Nightingale followed up by saying, "Preach." The rest of the White Sox fan base will readily concur. This is why the White Sox cut ties with shortstop Tim Anderson, who we'll talk about in a second, and are making everyone available in trades except center fielder Luis Robert, including ace Dylan Cease, as they lower their payroll. What do you make of this note in Bob Nightingale's notebook?
Well, certainly not, a screaming headline, White Sox 2/payroll kind of thing. It's probably a little less exciting than that for folks who are trying to figure out what that number is going to be by the time we reach opening day. Obviously, they already have lowered their payroll significantly. We talked about the money that they, quote unquote, are saving by declining the options on Tim Anderson and Liam Hendricks and the Mike Clevenger option going the way that it did. Listen, I think the assumption for a lot of people, particularly in the fan base, is that the payroll is going to go down as there's a lot of just talk about the way there was a decrease in attendance, significant decrease in attendance, the way that Jerry defended the amount of money that they spent a year ago on the team. I think that when you put those things together, now you've got Bob Nightingale saying this, the conversation, the discussion, the assumption, if you will, is going to be they probably aren't going to spend as much as last year. That being said, when we have asked the people who are going to be making these decisions, they have not gone that far. Now, of course, there's the PR reasons that come along with that, but what we heard just from Chris Getz last week is they're not operating with a specific number in mind, and more importantly to that point and that question, Sean, is that he's basically saying we're going to take this on a case-by-case basis. If we're going to see an opportunity that's going to raise our payroll, but we think it's the best thing for the team, we're going to pursue it. If we don't get those opportunities, then maybe the payroll goes down as lower-cost players end up taking the open roster spots. But I think there's so much that is left to do this offseason that it makes sense that you can't really say the payroll is going to be X dollars higher or X dollars lower than it was a year ago because we don't know how it's going to play out. We don't know if our targets are going to say yes. We don't know if new targets are going to pop up. So I think that makes sense when you hear it. Oh, their payroll is going to be lower than it was a year after they disappointingly lost 101 games. But at the same time, I don't think you can say with certainty it's going to be X dollars less because we don't know exactly how this offseason is going to play out yet.
In my heart of hearts, I hope the payroll is less and fewer dollars than it was in 2023 because that would, to me, signal them saying we are rebuilding and saying it loudly because of all the spots they have to fill. Like, I don't know what the bottom number would be right now. Was like 110 with all the people who are coming back from now, and to spend $70 million on the rest of the people you have to fill out seems like it won't happen. And so bottoming out and getting these players in trade rumors like Dylan Cease and maybe Eloy Jimenez, et cetera, is the way that you do bottom out and then bring in young, inexpensive players. So, yeah, I don't see them going out and being at the top of the market for these free agents who are out there. And if they're not there, I don't see them spending a total of $70 million or about that much on players who are not going to be at the top of the market. So I think just naturally, just by how they're operating this offseason, the payroll is going to shrink, and I don't know if it's going to be a natural thing for them to just shrink it. It's just going to happen because all the players they lost from this last season and all the players they're going to add for next season, it's not going to total up to more than $180 million.
Yeah, I think the biggest question on how low can it go if we are playing a little limbo is if they trade Moncada's $24 million or Jimenez's $13 million. Obviously, it's a stretch, but those are the guys that make money that actually contribute. I mean, Moncada right now is like, 25% of the budget, 20% of the budget by himself. Benintendi, obviously, I didn't mention him because I think that's even more of a stretch. I mean, maybe you could sell Moncada as a versatile switch-hitting on-base machine who is in a contract year. Maybe you can get a team to bite on that. I don't know.
Still have to pay a good portion of that.
He plays first base.
And outfield.
Yeah,
possibly.
You have to pay a portion of that, not all of it, which I think, maybe this is what the team is looking at. I don't know. It's something that obviously I'm more focused on because I'm just trying to everyone loves playing MLB The Show. Everyone loves putting the franchise together that wins the World Series. All I'm trying to do is figure out what budget are we in? What shopping price are we in, right? Are we looking at the Dom Perignon of free agents? Are we looking at the LaMarca? Where are we in the Champagne regions, right?
I think we're at Cold Duck, the Andre Cold Duck.
Sure, whatever that is. That sounds real cheap.
It is. It's you can buy it at 7-Eleven.
Let's go. So yeah, I don't know.
I just realized I don't know any brands of champagne. Corbel, is that one maybe?
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the one that's always in the tower at the Jewel on December 30th, right?
Yeah. That and your little sparkling grape juice.
There you go.
Because you got to have options. But yeah, I think. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that it's just it doesn't seem like this is going to be let's go set anything on the market or anything like that. It's just about filling out the pieces for 2024. But again, like you're very adamant about the word rebuild. Why can't it be a revamping? Like if the idea is to compete in 2025, why do you want the rebuild stamp on this?
Because then that gives a direction. It gives a direction for the rest of the players on the team, for the organization to move with that type of purpose instead of being halfway in, halfway out. It's like, oh, we're going to try to compete in 2024, but, if we don't, 2025 is there too. I want them to ask or get off the pot. Like, choose a direction, then the rest of the people will follow you. Even if they don't agree with it necessarily, the rest of the people in the organization, if Chris Getz said, hey, guys, we are doing a rebuild, and this is how we're going to do it. We might not do it as long as the previous people who were here. We think we can do a down year in 2024 and then build for 2025. Hey, I wouldn't necessarily think that most White Sox would be like, yay, but they would be like, I understand. You have a direction. I like the direction you might be going into, even though I might not like the team that I'm going to be seeing in 2024. It just seems a little bit more definitive and seems a little bit more like you have a plan instead of trying to catch lightning in a bottle and maybe in 2024 you compete, but then 2025 is my real year. So it's just, for me, I don't necessarily maybe need it verbalized. But if they do the moves that we're seeing, the rumors are that it might be shopping of Dylan Cease. To me, if you shop Dylan Cease, that tells me that you do not want to compete in 2024 because what you're getting back from Dylan Cease is not a 2024 top of the rotation pitcher, which Dylan Cease might be. The person you're getting back is probably not that.
I think you might get that at the end of the day, Herb.
Eventually.
No. I mean, you might get what you're talking about in a 1-year rebuild or whatever you want to call it, a 2-year rebuild.
A revamping.
I mean,
why aren't we using this word? Everyone thinks it has to be a retool or a rebuild. Where is revamp? That's a very fun word. It's a useful word.
I think rebuild is defined as purposefully sacrificing 1+ years of success with the idea being that you will have many years of success on the other end of that tunnel. And while who knows how realistic that a sort of outcome would be, I think you could wind up with something like that, basically, with the White Sox. Now, I don't think they're going to come – well, they obviously aren't going to come out and say that that's what they're doing. The only asterisk that would go by that is if they go into opening day next year with Yoán Moncada, with Eloy Jimenez, with Andrew Vaughn, and obviously with Robert and Benintendi, but those guys who didn't do so well all of a sudden do good, then all of a sudden you've got a lineup, right? And I mean, obviously I'm not saying that that anybody should expect that to happen after what you've seen over the last few years. But those guys are still talented. Those guys, if they're playing for the White Sox on an everyday basis, there's not much saying that it is impossible for them to have that sort of outcome. Then all of a sudden your plans can change underneath you, in which you're not just like, don't worry, all those guys are going to be off the team by the time we get to opening day 2025. All of a sudden it's, oh, hey, now we got something maybe cooking here. And so that might change that direction a little bit, and I think maybe that's why you're not hearing that verbalized, is there is still that little chance, even if the intention is to say, just wait till 2025, there is still that little chance that, hey, maybe things come together in 24.
The verb definition of revamp: give new and improved form, structure, or appearance to. No longer change the game. Chris Getz is trying to lay the culture, the groundwork, the organization for these people. I think it's an applicable term. I don't know. You bringing up the Cease thing, if they're able to get 2 starting pitchers for him, I don't care. I'm at this point where I love Dylan Cease. I think Dylan Cease is going to be an incredible pitcher in Major League Baseball. He's going to win a Cy Young at some point in his career, whether it be NL or AL. If Blake Snell can do it, Dylan Cease can do it. But you look at the Seattle Mariners and what they went through.
That's a weird thing. I got it.
Why? Blake Snell just walked for like 5.5 guys per 9.
Yeah, but he gets people out after he walks them. He doesn't give any runs up after it subsequently.
Okay, what was Dylan Cease's ERA last year? Wasn't it under? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Could he not do that again? He's like 25.
I would keep that person if I was a general manager.
Yes, I would too. But if the White Sox don't decide to do that, you look at what the Mariners did this year. Bryce Miller was 25, and actually younger. He didn't turn 25 until he was August 23rd. Brian Wu was 23 this year, and George Kirby was 25 this year, and all of them gave fantastic outings and innings for the Mariners, and that was a team that was just on the doorstep of a playoff berth. If the White Sox can get 2 starting pitchers, which is the current number that they have right now, 2, for Dylan Cease, especially 2 players that have 6 to 5 years of control, absolutely. That's why at the deadline I only wanted Grayson Rodriguez for him.
There's a word that Chris Getz kept using when describing this. The idea that we might trade kind of an established player if it helps us move along for the future. He kept using the word multiply. Multiply. If there's an opportunity to multiply. I'm sure he was talking about talent and all that kind of thing, but you basically just brought it up. You can turn 1 pitcher into 2. You can turn 2 pitchers into 4. All of a sudden you have a rotation, right? And maybe using that thought process of multiplying what you've got maybe shows what he's thinking in terms of the value of trading one of those guys or not.
And Luis Robert Jr. just had a top 25 season. I think that he can, to use the word, multiply what he just did. I think that obviously we just saw him scratch the surface.
Yes.
So I'm not against holding on Luis Robert Jr. Obviously, he'd be at the peak of his value right now because he's so cheap. But can you actually multiply that guy in a way that makes sense? I don't think so. But Cease, especially with only 2 years left, I mean, there would be a benefit to, I think, trading him, especially if you think that you can compete in 2025. And I think with Robert, that if you have that player, that obviously leaves that door open any single year. Let's get into the TA stuff, though. Obviously, the White Sox taking that direction, and Bob bringing it up that it might affect the budget. But Bob also brings up that the Angels might be interested in Tim Anderson, and they also might be interested in him playing second base. What do we make of the fit for TA in Anaheim? And is there any other spots out there that you think make sense for TA7?
I think it makes very much sense for TA to go to Anaheim. They just hired Ron Washington as their manager coming up for this next year. And if you know anything about it, Ron Washington, firstly, the Moneyball movie where Brad Pitt says to Scott Hatteberg, or it's like, hey, Wash.
Brad Pitt said it's a Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. Sorry. He's like, how hard is it, Wash? It's very hard. That's Ron Washington, who was actually an infield coach, third base coach too for the Oakland Athletics, and after that, subsequently he has worked with Ozzie Albies and the rest of the Atlanta Braves infield staff. He, I think, would improve Tim's footwork and all the little things that get Tim to be not the butcher that he was last year at shortstop, especially versus these Guardians. And so I think it'll be a perfect fit for him to have. And speaking as a African American man, I know that Tim gets motivated by seeing others in his clubhouse with him. Remember the year where you had Billy Hamilton, he had Goodwin with him, and I know people are going to what does that mean so much? Representation matters, man. I don't know. Tim just feels better when he's in the clubhouse, surrounded by people he can talk to, surrounded by people with the same type of upbringing as him. So Ron Washington has had some of his troubles and struggles off the field with substance abuse and other things. I think it'll be a good mentor for Tim Anderson to say, hey, man, I've had my troubles, but I'm on the other side of that. You've had your troubles off the field. We ain't going to talk about that. The field is us. That's where we dominate, and that's where you get your money. And I think that'll be a really good mentor-mentee relationship with Tim Anderson. So I'm all for it. If he wants to take that and go out there and be in Anaheim, another thing, L.A., the spotlight, the limelight, we know Tim shines in it. I think that he will do well out there for his 1 year type of an audition for his free agency year. If he wants to sign a 2-year deal, go with it. But Wash I think, is the perfect guy for him to be underneath and rebuild his stock, as it were.
I mean, I don't know about Anaheim being the limelight.
It's the OC.
Yeah,
don't call it that.
That show hasn't aired for a while.
It's like, don't call it San Francisco Frisco.
But listen, there's teams that need shortstops, and the Angels are certainly one of them. There's a few out there. Maybe and listen, this was a quick rundown of Fangraphs. I don't know if all this is actually correct with who's got prospects coming up and all that sort of thing. But Angels, Cardinals, D-backs, Dodgers, Giants, Guardians, and who needs a shortstop? Of course, the White Sox. But he, I think, is going to be a shortstop. Maybe one of those teams is where he lands and is able to do that. The Angels are a team that aren't necessarily needing him to be. Like, if you go to the Dodgers or the Giants, they need you to be good to win because they want to win the World Series, right?
Correct.
A team like the Angels, I don't know, and so maybe the pressure's off a little bit there, just in terms of the signing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe that makes it a more logical fit. There are a lot more teams that need second baseman. And so if TA gets to the point where he's not getting the kind of interest he wants as an everyday shortstop, maybe he says, all right, I'll play second base, and all of a sudden his market opens up dramatically. That being said, I think he's going to be a shortstop. I think there are enough teams out there. There are enough players that play shortstop every day that TA is better than at the end of the day. If you want an upgrade, if you're looking to not just plug a hole, but maybe upgrade from a guy you got, TA could give you an opportunity to do that. And so I think he's going to be a shortstop for some team next year. That being said, if you get down the road, into this offseason, and all of a sudden it's January and you got no takers on you being a shortstop or no sort of offers that you want, go ahead and say, I'll play second base, and all of a sudden that phone's going to start ringing big because that is not a position that sees a lot of offensive, greatness there.
Do you think he'll hold out until then? Do you think he's going into this market and saying, I'm a shortstop?
I mean, shortstops get more money. That's just true. And so here's the thing, though, with him, given the year that he's coming off of, or you could even say the 2 years that he's coming off of, you can say, go ahead, bet on yourself, take the 1 year deal to play shortstop for somebody, and maybe you're a highlight of a free agent class a year from now. I think he's a highlight of the middle infield free agent class right now, considering how, not impressive that group of players is. Exactly. But that being said, he's got to go prove that last year was a fluke and not something that he's become. So I think that he's going to be a shortstop in 2024, an everyday shortstop in 2024. The Angels provide an opportunity for him to do that, but there are others, and we'll see. Like I said, if he doesn't get what he wants, he has the ability to hook on with the team quite easily by saying he'll play second base. Do we
find it interesting that the first report is about him being a second baseman? Because obviously the Angels right now selected Zach Neto, I think, with their 13th pick in the 2020 first-round draft, and he's their shortstop. So it seems like they would progress with that glove-first shortstop who is younger at that position. So that's why Tim would be at second base. But, I mean, you guys talked about him holding out. I mean, like, how viable do you think he can actually be at shortstop? Because we've talked about the injuries, and I think if the White Sox thought that he'd be any good at shortstop, that he'd be able to have some trade value, and obviously that didn't come to fruition.
And as Vinny said, I think that he wants to be a shortstop because he's always played it, and then secondly, because it makes more money. He, remember at the beginning of last season or the offseason, when he sees all the rest of the shortstops, the top four, signed for big-time money, and he's got the eyes. He's like, oh, what? This is what they signed for? And now, I don't think Tim is at that level. He's not at the Correa, Swanson level, but he probably thinks of himself as on that level, even though the last 2 years have been very disappointing for him. But yeah, he would want to stay there, and I don't think he would jump the market right now and say, hey, I'm just going to be a second base for the Angels. That's cool with me. Whatever job I get, I'm good. I think, like Vinny said, like he's going to go out to get a shortstop job. And seeing that free agent shortstop market, he's like, Ahmed Rosario is the best you could do on this offseason? I'm better than Ahmed Rosario. Sean believes I'm better than Ahmed Rosario. Let me get a deal better than Ahmed Rosario. And so I think until, when it gets late, when people are starting to think about going to camp, he's like, man, I don't have an Arizona or fall place to go yet. And maybe then he's like, all right, well, I'm downshift, and maybe I'll take your job, Angels, if you haven't filled it out yet. But it's got to tread lightly because the White Sox just pretty much like, hey, I'm good, man. Get out of here. Because you had a terrible year, and maybe other teams are thinking that he's that guy that showed up in 2023 instead of the guy that showed more for majority of his major league career, that he's a above average offensive shortstop with a little kinks and badness at a shortstop when he doesn't play versus the Guardians. So that's especially he's bad.
Well, and maybe that could be part of the thing too. I mean, you bring up Ron Washington. Maybe there's a belief in Washington that TA can turn things around, be that batting champion that he's been before, and Wash has a great rep to improve middle infield defense. So if there is maybe that, let's take this diamond in the rough and turn him into something great, maybe Ron sees that vision.
And I agree with you. They would probably keep their young shortstop at the position that he's at right now instead of putting Tim in there and then having, if Tim leaves after a year, putting the Neto back at shortstop. So, yes, I think his market in Anaheim would be probably only for that second base position, and hopefully he gets it because I think Wash is a good teacher of men and get him right back to where he needs to be.
But also, too, I just think, like, Sean, the way you even framed the question maybe isn't entirely correct. I mean, you said, is it viable that he's a shortstop? I still want to know, is it viable that he's a second baseman? I mean, he played it for a few games in the World Baseball Classic, played it for 4 innings or whatever for the White Sox this year. He hit he's in the free agent market right now. He's a major league shortstop. Like anybody that signs him to be a second baseman is going to have to change his position, basically. I mean, I'm not saying it's maybe as difficult as I was talking about last winter when it was like, oh, can Elvis Andrus do this? Can he do this? He's never played here before. And then he was fine at second base. But Tim Anderson is a shortstop who is not of the elite defensive caliber that Elvis Andrus was, or whether it's elite or not, he's not the defensive caliber shortstop that Elvis Andrus was and is. Can he make that move to second base and be successful at it? Or are people just saying that because it's a discussion topic? It's a possible option. Hey, maybe this could happen. Hey, we saw it happen on the All-Star team that he played for in the World Baseball Classic, so maybe we should try it out over 160 games. I don't know if that's something teams should be thinking about. He might just be a shortstop that is now maybe not at the top tier of shortstops, but he's a shortstop certainly that is better than some of the ones who are getting everyday jobs in the major leagues right now, I would have to imagine.
Yeah, and I don't understand Jimmy's comment saying the Baseball Classic exposed TA as a shortstop. That's why they moved him to second base. Better shortstop, made him move. Yeah.
I mean, he just wasn't as good as Trey Turner.
Well, Trey Turner is also the best shortstop in baseball, and that's why he got paid $300 million. I think it speaks volumes to Tim Anderson that he was trusted with second base with not having any experience and showed how people view his bat,
right?
Or at least before this season. I think it's more credit to Tim that he was able to move to second base,
but again,
without any issue.
Sure, but he was doing it in what amounted to a handful of exhibition games.
True.
I mean, you're talking about having a guy be here for 6+ months if you are a team that is shooting for a playoff spot. If he went and played for the Phillies, he would be a second baseman because he's not as good as Trey Turner. But there are a lot of teams out there that don't have that problem. should Tim Anderson join their roster.
And White Sox advisor Tony La Russa saw no issue with Andrew Vaughn as an outfielder in spring training in those exhibition games, so we know how confusing or maybe,
And a second baseman in a regular season game.
And to
I still think that should be explored more.
And to speak to about Ron Washington, he has another person that he has a disciple. Like Elvis Andrus out there, and he's played second for a full season. If he wants to go down that road, a guy that he's used to, comfortable with, that played a pretty good second base that Sean's coveting, maybe having him as a guy that you want to battle as a second baseman if Tim's not ready to just convert to second base.
And he could come one step closer to playing for every team in the American League West.
Who would he have left?
Mariners?
If he signed for the Angels, he would have to play for the Mariners and the Astros. He's been a Ranger and an A.
We could see that getting traded in midseason to the Astros next year.
Did you say I covet him?
You even said that you want to bring him back for the White Sox.
I never said I want to.
Man,
it was the bad plan, and it's that I thought it was destined that Elvis Andrus would return. Don't put those words in my mouth. Come on. Let's do some math. All right. I love math. I love numbers.
Sox math?
Let's start eliminating. Oh, well, not Jason. I guess went to Detroit, so we don't have to eliminate the Sox math.
But wrestling downstairs.
There is some earthquakey vibes going on here at here in the West Loop.
This Iceland?
There is one thing that's very important to Tim Anderson. The brand.
TA7.
Named his child 7. Okay?
Like George Costanza wanted to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the living George Costanza. Number 7 has been retired by the Astros, Rangers, and Yankees. Craig Biggio, Ivan Rodriguez, Mickey Mantle. So he is not going to be an Astro. He is not going to be a Ranger. He is not going to be a Yankee. I don't care if they have positions open, second base and shortstop. They are not signing him. And it is taken in Boston. Yoshida is wearing it. Cleveland has Miles Straw, who will likely probably stay on the team. Same with Royals. Bobby Witt has
You don't think
7.
TA would give Miles Straw a nice watch to get 7 if he became a Cleveland Guardian?
I don't know. I mean, Miles Straw has been in Cleveland for a while.
Yeah,
now.
but he's like, it's TA7. It's not Miles Straw
Okay.
7.
Well, no, it's fair. I mean,
MS7.
We'll leave Cleveland open. I'll put an asterisk against Cleveland.
Like, just go to MS13. It works perfectly.
If there's any more players,
No one? Anybody? Okay, never mind.
MS13.
It's a gang. The people keep on using as boogeyman. Go ahead.
Cool. Royals, Bobby Witt Jr. So I don't think TA would go to the
They
Royals.
also don't need a shortstop.
Right. Well, he wears number 7 too. The Angels, Joe Adell. I think he could probably give Joe Adell a nice watch.
Mm-hmm.
He's still there? Wow.
He's still there. I saw a trade that had Gavin Sheets for Joe Adell.
I've already hit the button. What are we waiting for?
I drive Gavin Sheets to
Yes.
Angel Stadium. Be a very, very long,
That's
awkward
a good
drive.
change of pace for both of them, and we get the better of it because Joe Adell used to be a top prospect.
Gavin Sheets would be a good road trip partner, though, I think. He's a good guy, good conversationalist, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. You good tunes?
I would control the music.
Okay. Mariners have Marco Gonzalez. I'll put an asterisk because he might not be on the team. Diamondbacks have Corbin Carroll. Cubs have Dansby Swanson. Reds have Spencer Steer. Rockies have Brendan Rodgers. He's been there for a long time, but I'll put an asterisk. Marlins have Jesus Sanchez. Phillies have Trey Turner. So, again, he can't even move to second base.
Shortstop and number 7.
Right. Padres have Hae-Sung Kim, and Giants have J.D. Davis. So we can cross off all those teams. So who is left? Toronto, Baltimore, Detroit, Atlanta, Milwaukee, the New York Mets, St. Louis, Tampa Bay Rays, Oakland, the Dodgers, the Angels, kind of. Adele has 7, but we think that we can, buy it off them. And the Nationals. The Nationals have C.J. Abrams at shortstop. Nato is at shortstop for the Angels. And then second base and shortstop is full for Toronto, Baltimore, Detroit, Atlanta, Milwaukee, the Mets, and St. Louis. So
that leaves.
I have whittled this down to teams that have number 7 open and the shortstop position open to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Mm-hmm.
They do have Vidal Brujan, who is wearing number 7. But not only do I think Tim can take his number, I think that Tim can take his job.
Wow.
And I think it'd be a great signing, actually, if the Rays did buy into TA. I think that would give me a lot of hope for the future of TA if that organization saw him and was like, we could do something with him. Oakland, Zach Geloff is at second, but the number 7 and shortstop position is open. And the Dodgers, Gavin Lux is at shortstop, or Gavin Lux is at second base. Miguel Rojas is at shortstop. I think Tim Anderson could beat Miguel Rojas out for his job. Ahmed Rosario already did. And there's no number 7. So that's why I think TA is going to be a Dodger.
All right.
It's felt like that was
some red string conspiracy theory board work there, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, there's something there.
Yeah.
I think there's something there. I've always felt like the Dodgers were the best part, and for me
Was he going to change his Instagram handle?
Right, exactly. I mean, like, what is he going to change the kid's name? 24?
Well, I mean, kid's name could reflect a moment in time, right?
True.
But Instagram handle, you're not going to go around finding that.
No.
Hey, some of the best of all time have changed their number. MJ, Kobe, LeBron. He can do it. And their brand didn't change.
Manny Ramirez.
Exactly.
But, like, isn't LeBron back to 23?
Yeah,
Okay. And then Jordan went back to 23.
he did.
Uh-oh, Herb.
But Kobe didn't.
Yeah, but
8 to 24.
Kobe's reason was not like
8 to 24.
I changed teams. Anyways, let's take a break. I want to let you know about our friends over at CIRCA Sports. Right now, they have a ton of lines available, so download their app right now. And the best part about CIRCA Sports, if you are a sports better, is that CIRCA Sports is always trying to give you the most money possible. With tight money line splits and a low hold model, games will strive to be a -110 split on the CIRCA Sports menu, unlike other sports books, which may use a -115 or -120 split. So if you are looking at the Bears line, they are getting 10 points going up against the Lions this upcoming Sunday. If you are looking to bet the Bears plus 10, it's likely that on CIRCA Sportsbook it will be a -110 odd bet. I don't know how to phrase that, but if you are on a different sports book, it's likely to be -115 or -120. And if you have that decision, why not bet with CIRCA Sports, because you will be getting or winning the most money if your bet hits. And CIRCA's customer support is top-notch. There are real people behind the CIRCA Sports brand who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots, and all aspects of the app are being run by the same team that runs the main CIRCA Sportsbook at CIRCA Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. They throw great parties, too. I know that everyone had fun this past Thursday with Brian Urlacher over at Joe's on Weed Street. So download the CIRCA Sports Illinois app today at circasports.com/Illinois-app. That's circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today, and be on the lookout for more CIRCA events where maybe Brian Urlacher will show up. Maybe not. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537, text GMB 833-234, or visit areyoureallywinning.com. Also want to let you know about our friends over at Midtown Athletic Club. Beautiful locations in Palatine in the northwest suburbs, Bannockburn in the North Shore, Willowbrook in the southwest suburbs, and, of course, the Midtown Athletic Club and Hotel in the middle of Bucktown and Lincoln Park, right there on Elston and like
Damon and Fullerton.
But like there's 7 streets over there.
Yeah.
It's very
Well, they had to wrap Elston around because it was going. It used to go straight through.
Yeah.
And that intersection was a mess, so they wrapped it around now, so it's
Much
a little
better.
bit easier flowing.
very nice. So it's very easy to get to now, the Midtown Athletic Club and Hotel in the middle of Bucktown and Lincoln Park. Midtown Palatine has launched a multi-million-dollar transformation of the club as well, which will be complete in early 2024. Listeners can lock in favorable rates if they join the club before the end of the year. And there's something at clubs for everyone, whether you're a single person, family with kids, people looking to make lifestyle changes, or some holistic wellness. I know that they do have childcare included as well with family memberships. They have super luxe locker rooms with wet and dry saunas and premium amenities, amazing outdoor and indoor pools and hot tubs. Even Carm won't shut up about their tennis courts and programming in the sport. It's the best in Chicago. Midtown also has indoor, outdoor tennis, pickleball, and paddle tennis. It's USTA and professional quality all the way. So head over to midtown.com/CHGO to find out more and tour the Midtown Athletic Club nearest you. All right, let's get into the first mailbag question. And let's go to Anthony's question first, Shulo. If we go there, he asks, what do you see as the future for Oscar Colás? I know Chris Getz talked about this, but Anthony went into many different ways. Stay in AAA until he figures it out? Package him in a trade? Is it too soon to give up on him, knowing what kind of team Getz wants to construct? Pick your jumping off
The
point.
fact that they did what they did last year tells me that they didn't like how the player was developing at the major league level. It's like night and day. They couldn't stop talking about him last offseason and how he was going to take the job or have the chance to take the job in spring training for 2023. And then when he got here, after a month, it's like, that's enough. He hasn't learned anything. He's not listening to any of the instruction we're giving him, and he needs to go down there and get better. Eventually he did and got the call up again. And then like with a month later, they're like, yeah, this is not it. And to send him down again, which the White Sox don't do that often when they bring up a prospect, tells me that they fell very, they were over the Oscar Colás experiment. Now, that was different management, but Chris Getz might be thinking, hey, he's going to probably, in his speech to you guys, I believe he said that he's pretty much going to be in the minor leagues to start the season off. And so I think that whatever you need to do to get Oscar Colás off of this organization, do it. If it's a package him in a trade with somebody else, do it, because it seems like you're not going to give him the proper chance to battle again for the right field position, which I wouldn't because of how badly he was this year. But maybe he needs a change of scenery. Maybe that's one of those guys who a change of scenery will do him well. And I think no White Sox fan, or at least any reasonable White Sox fan, would say, you guys messed up with Oscar Colás, because it seemed like they gave him as many chances as they could last year before they just had to throw their hands up and say, this guy's not doing what we need him to do. And so, yeah, if he's on some other organization and becomes the Oscar Colás that everybody envisioned, I would be like, all right, that was just because he needed to change the scenery, and those people worked with him better than what the White Sox did.
I can't imagine you're going to get anything of value in a trade for him at this point after he came up and basically showed you that he couldn't play Major League Baseball, really a lick. So I think what Chris Getz was saying last week was that certainly they're not going to give up on the guy, but he knows from watching him right now that he is not ready for prime time. And so, yes, the idea is that he would start the season in the minor leagues. That doesn't preclude him from coming up at some point next season. It doesn't preclude him from having a very successful year in the minor leagues and showing finally that he is ready come 2025 or something like that. It doesn't eliminate him from the White Sox plans in either the short or long term, I don't think. But that being said, this guy was not ready to be the right fielder last year. Now, remember, we were talking about how well he was doing in spring training. So I'm not sure the White Sox were like, we don't care if he's no good, just put him up. I mean, he had good numbers in the minor leagues in 2022, and he did very well in spring training. I think he earned that spot or that opportunity. He just very clearly, once he got here, was not ready for the major league game twice. So they need him to be a dramatically different and a dramatically improved player for them to give him another opportunity to do that. That being so under that idea, he is not going to be, they're going to need to make the plan for right field without him for 2024. But if they're just going with a veteran stopgap, at some of these open positions so they can better position themselves for 2025, maybe he does work his way back into that conversation. I think right now you're going to see a player who is going to be a minor leaguer next year with the White Sox, and he is going to have to prove to them very strongly that he has mastered the things that they need him to master. That is plate discipline. That is the defense. That is the way you're taking the mental approach to the game. Pedro Grifol kept harping on the fact that he just wasn't playing focused. He wasn't focusing out there, and you got to do that. You got to do that before you can do all that, the other stuff. They say you got to walk before you can run. You got to pay attention before you can walk. And so I think that they need him to embrace, or to fix rather, the mental and the emotional sides of his game before they can say he's ready to come back to the big league level.
I asked recently what is more likely, Dylan Cease being traded or Colson Montgomery being on the opening day roster. What is more likely? Oscar Colás being on the opening day roster or Colson Montgomery being on the opening day roster?
Colson Montgomery. I would say that pretty emphatically, and I don't even think that means that there's some gigantic slam dunk assurance that Montgomery will be there. I just think that Colson Montgomery is going to be given the opportunity to show what he can do come spring training, and I don't think that they're going to necessarily, like I just said, they're probably going to, or they're almost certainly going to make their right field plan without Oscar Colás being a part of it for 2024. I think they're going to make their shortstop plan without Colson Montgomery expecting him to be the guy for a full season. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to go get somebody who can man that position for a full season should he need to. But I can also see Colson Montgomery coming up pretty quick. And I could see them making a plan where, hey, if Colson Montgomery bangs down that door, be it in spring training or be it in July, it's no big deal that he comes up and usurps the position of the guy that they went out and got. And so I think that he will, even if that opportunity is a small one and has a small chance of success come spring, still think he gets that opportunity, as opposed to Colás, who they've seen what he can do and they know that he's got a lot of work to do. I don't think they say, oh, wow, Oscar Colás, you proved us all wrong with a great Cactus League play. You've done it again. You've won the everyday job in right field. I don't think there's a real possibility of that happening, at least listening to the way Chris Getz was talking about him last week.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that even if there were good shortstop options for the White Sox, where top of the market shortstops available, I don't think the White Sox would be in there because they believe in Colson Montgomery in the future so much. And so it'll be a stopgap. It'll be whoever this guy is coming in, they will know that they're there for just until Colson Montgomery's ready to go. So Colás, I don't see him being on the team at all next year because they soured on him so much. Yeah, Lee, they soured on him big time. And he showed them what type of player that he was when he got to the majors. And so they're probably like very hesitant to bring him back and see if he's learned his lesson. But Colson Montgomery is the future.
I mean, yeah, Colson's the future. I think Colás is closer, and I don't know. I mean, we heard so much about his offseason work. You talked about the spring training. Like, there isn't a world where he impresses the White Sox enough and maybe shows enough maturity and growth where, hey, you know, we signed not even Adam Duvall. I mean, we signed Travis Jankowski to be our right fielder. You know, it's Jankowski versus Colás. Could he not beat out Gavin Sheets? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's possible that Colás is in the mix, but a strong message needs to be sent on where his current status is with the team. Because, again, he hit the hell out of the ball at times. He had a swinging strike rate of like 16% in 2022 in AAA. It was 16% in Major League Baseball. When he went back to AAA, I think it was down to like 11%. So I think he's showing that he could be a Major League hitter. I think it's more about the Major League day-to-day thought process and work.
I'd say it's more about the Major League minute-to-minute thought process, right? I think it's about being out there in right field and being ready to go and make a play, not trying to throw a guy out at third base when you got no chance to do so, not trying to turn a regular base hit into a double just because you're trying really hard. I mean, you know, that becomes irresponsible, and those are the things that we saw on a daily basis from Oscar Colás. And so you're right, but I think I would agree more with what Sean's saying than what you're saying, Herb, because I think you're saying I've seen enough of that guy, I never need to see him again, and that might be true. Mm-hmm. But I think the White Sox went out and invested in this guy. They saw the kind of talent. They are not going to just say, "Oh, guess that one didn't work out." You had 2 months and you blew it, kind of thing. I think they need to see a lot of growth from him, but I don't think they're ready to say, this is over, we're never going to see him again. I could see both those guys on the team come the summer if they show that they're ready for that. But to what you were saying, Sean, a year ago this time, we were talking about him already having the job, that they were planning for him to be the guy, like Rick Hantz talking at the GM meeting saying, don't forget about this guy, he could be it, which is to say, this is the guy that we want to be in right field, and that's how it ended up playing out. I think Chris Getz goes out and makes a plan for 2024 at both shortstop and right field that, hey, it's okay if neither of those two guys come up in 2024 because we're going to have somebody who can man those positions. But in the event that they do, and in the, perhaps in his mind, ideal situation in which they do, it's okay if the two guys that we bring in, we say, you're bench players now.
The only reason I say that is because, as Wendell brings up, the GM currently, Chris Getz, saw Oscar Colás for years, like 1 year in 2022 where he was hitting the ball off the cover, and then last year in 2023 where he had to go up and down. And so maybe he's thinking he doesn't have anything vested into the player because he didn't draft or he didn't sign him as an international free agent. So he's like, I saw him. I'm good on the attitude. I'm good on what he does for me, and what he can be in the major leagues for me doesn't really affect my bottom line because I'll be going out to go and get a right fielder who is more permanent. At least that's what I hope he'll be thinking about, instead of trying to leave the position open for maybe Colás to compete. But he has no skin in the game for him. He didn't pick this guy. That's not his guy. And so with the experience he's had with Oscar Colás, he has nothing invested in him. And so you see him doing new moves and getting people out of here that he doesn't think are the White Sox vision that he believes in and going forward. And so that's why I could say him saying, we're good on Oscar Colás and we don't need to see him up here, and not being part of a deal where he's the headliner, just like here's a throw-in. Oscar Colas is part of your deal.
No, that seems so short-sighted because, I mean, again, the vision that you're talking about, Chris Getz' vision, it seems like it is directly in place to help guys like Oscar Colas who just aren't getting it, who aren't understanding
he's 26, so he's going to be 26.
Right, but, I mean, he's also not – he's played less than 50 games in the Major League Baseball.
Also, they've already spent money on the guy, too.
They did, but not Chris Getz.
But Jerry did.
How much did he spend, though? I mean, I think
it was a decent amount.
But the biggest thing is, like, the whole idea of Chris Getz' vision is to get an organization in place to set the barometer of what work needs to look like for a major league player. If he puts in that work, he's a better player already than Gavin Sheets. Like, that's all I'm saying is, like, I don't think that this kid is done for because he is now 26 years old. It's traumatic. It's just, really life changing to become 26. People just stop looking at you the same way.
You're 26, and then you're going to get your second opportunity as a real Major League Baseball player. How long do we have to wait? This is not Ryan Howard. Like, is he going to, if he turns into Ryan Howard, smooth. But, like, the clock is already ticking on this man. He's not a 21, 22-year-old guy where you can wait and say, okay, another year in the minors would be good. A 27-year-old pretty much rookie coming up? No. I think that this ship has sailed. To put all the eggs in the basket already like they did this past year, I think that will be foolhardy for him to do. And I could see him just keeping him on just because you don't get any, player back that you necessarily want or need. But I'm sure that he's like, ugh, what he did last year just soured me on him. It soured me on him. Herb Lawrence soured me on what Oscar Colas can do because you got your opportunity. You had a clear vision and a clear field to be a Major League Baseball player twice, and you failed both times. It's like that to me tells me that he's not ready for prime time. And I'm sure Chris Getz saw much more than that. And some of the stuff that focus that Vinny was talking about that Pedro Grifol said, I'm sure that Pedro's not a big fan of his either.
I mean, certainly not last year, but here's the thing. Chris Getz told us at the at the GM meetings, you can't give up on a guy that has this kind of talent. And so I don't think they're going to. And you're talking about souring on him. That's you souring on him. I don't know if you can say Chris Getz is. He's said basically the opposite, saying that they don't want to give up on the guy. They want to make sure that he gets the development that he needs to get. They got to try hard. He's got to try hard. And I think at the end of the day, there's a realistic possibility that he makes it back here next year with the White Sox. Absolutely. I don't think they're just saying, oh, well, he didn't do it in those 2 months. So that's it. On to the next guy. And when you talk about finding a more permanent solution in right field, what sort of opportunities are there to do that? I mean, I don't think they might find a guy for 1 year, but I don't think they're certainly not going to say, well, we have Oscar Colas, so we can't go sign the guy that we want to a 4-year contract. But I mean, what's to stop them from just signing some guy to a 1-year deal and saying maybe Colas will be there again in a year later?
Teoscar Hernandez, Larry Scuriel. Come on, we've got some people.
How big do you think their budget is? Those guys are at least going to be like 10 million plus.
Oh, man. Please, Jesus. Give me Teoscar Hernandez in right field.
We just talked about their budget being declined. Do you think they're going to put Teoscar Hernandez in right field?
That's not that much money.
It's Whit Merrifield and Travis Jankowski, my friend.
That's not that much money. He's not at the top of the market. He's not even close to the top of the market.
You know what is a lot of money? $350 off. That's the discount you get when you use promo code CHGO and our friends over at Empire Today. Head over to empiretoday.com/CHGO for $350 off. You can also schedule a free home you get a free in-home estimate today. There are some restrictions apply, but again, see empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right products for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but those copycats can't beat Empire on the quality, service, and speed they provide. It's why you know the phone number, 588-2300.
Empire
Today. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection, and their philosophy is to help you find you what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. And you could see those choices with their virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. And Empire services all their own warranties. If an issue does arise, you can just call Empire. They service all warranties themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. So again, schedule a free in-home estimate today, and you could receive a $350 off discount when you use promo code CHGO over at empiretoday.com/CHGO. Vinny.
My turn? Guys, if you're watching us here on this program, you know that we got a CHGO White Sox show for you 5 days a week. And you probably also know CHGO Bears, CHGO Blackhawks, CHGO Cubs, CHGO Bulls, 5 days a week. But there's more. There's even more.
Whoa.
You can become a CHGO diehard, and you get access to all sorts of special stuff. You're going to get this box that Herb is going to model for you. It comes with a t-shirt. It comes with a card. It comes with some stickers. It's very exciting. And then on top of that, you'll get access to the premium written content that you get for all those teams from all our wonderful beat writers. And then on top of that, 20% off events. And you might think, hey, Vinny, the Bears, they're tailgates. It's too cold now. Even though it's like 60 degrees today. It's too cold now. There's no more tailgates. What are you talking about? But did you know that there's going to be a Bulls takeover at the UC this very Friday? And then just 2 days later on Sunday, there's going to be a CHGO Bears watch party down on the south side in Oak Lawn. So you're going to get 20% off to those events if you become a CHGO diehard. And, of course, there's going to be takeovers, watch parties for the Bulls and the Blackhawks all winter long. Fun stuff with us once baseball season does roll back around in the spring. And then you get a discount on all that merchandise, the t-shirts that I was alluding to earlier. And how about the hats that these two guys are modeling for you right now? 4 styles. They're new. You can get discounts on that, too, if you're a CHGO diehard. So go on over to allchgo.com and figure out exactly how you can become a diehard today.
Yes. I've just found a new stat on Baseball Savant, which I know might be surprising. It's a real nerdy. It's not even like there's not even a fun acronym. Pitcher base advances prevented. So
PBAP.
Yeah, there you go. So a sum of advances prevented and outs added assigned to the pitcher. So which pitcher led Major League Baseball in pitcher base advances prevented? Again, a sum of advances prevented and outs added assigned to the pitcher.
Dylan Cease
led all of baseball at 10.
So he doesn't have the same problem that all the other White Sox pitchers have.
No.
Where they're constantly stealing bases on them all the time.
The stolen base attempts per opportunity, 1.2%, which seems very much higher than everyone. I mean, Kikuchi is the only other guy that's over 1, and he's at 14th, and his pitcher base advance prevented is at 4. Cease is at 10. Greinke at 9, Canning at 8, Peterson at 7, Bradish and Hauser at 6. Those are the only guys above 5. I don't know what this means because I just learned about it.
So you're saying Dylan Cease good?
Interesting, I guess.
even in a down year for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is just strictly base running. So, I mean, that's just interesting to see just because how bad Yasmani Grandal and Corey Lee were preventing stolen bases. Corey Lee a little bit better. Sebi Zavala a little bit better. But, I mean, it's just interesting because, I mean, he walks a ton of guys, but those guys don't get second. So that's cool.
Before we finally move on from Oscar Colás, I do want to answer Wendell's question down here. He's asking, is he playing winter ball?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. I thought he wasn't.
No, I thought he was.
They told us at the end of last year that he was.
And I don't think he is.
What, did he change his mind?
I think so.
He's in trouble then.
I'm pretty sure I saw.
Pedro was very adamant that he go play
but I
winter
haven't.
ball.
Yeah, I haven't seen
And
it.
then he said that he was going to.
I think something came out from one of the. Yeah, I think. Well, I'm trying to tap.
They said he was going to. There's your answer.
They said they were going to, but I don't think they.
Yeah, and I remember that conversation, and then immediately he got an answer yes, we got him going. And I remember we even had a team or what league he was going to be in. So I'll be very surprised if he doesn't make it to winter ball. That would stamp his ouster from the White Sox if he doesn't go to the winter ball as they want him to do.
Francis Romero at Francis Romero
geez.
FR. That is FRANCYS Romero FR. Baseball and sports reporter. Oscar Colás, Cuban outfielder Oscar Colás, will no longer play in this winter league season with the Toros del Este in the Dominican Republic. The White Sox will seek to focus on training and preparation during the offseason to opt for a spot on the 2024 opening day roster.
There you go.
So and that was on November 8th.
Okay.
Is he hurt?
I don't think so. Yep,
Interesting.
Oscar Colás, this is from a different lead thing. It says that Colás decided it was better to prepare personally than to play in Lido.
All right. Well, we've got some questions then come the winter meetings because the benefits of him participating in that were talked up quite heavily at the end of last year. So if it was the White Sox decision as that tweet maybe kind of presented it a little bit, I wonder if they've just got kind of a different idea.
Funny, too, because I think that's the team that Aloy played for Pedro on. I think that was the team Pedro was the manager of in 2014 or whatever.
This is not the Larry Hansard team.
No. It might be. Well, now let me check. No, I don't think so. No, this is the Your Mean team.
Oh,
this is the Your Mean team.
Maybe they didn't want him to be around him.
Yeah, he's listed. Your Mean Mercedes listed as a receptatore.
Oh,
or
catcher.
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 Speaking Spanish.
I thought that was maybe a special status with the Toros.
Oh, is Domingo Germán actually pitching this? No way. They have a ton of pitchers. I can't find the actual roster. I don't know if this is updated or not.
The Your Mean team.
Possibly the Your Mean team. Let's get into AJ's question. AJ from our Discord, and as Vinny mentioned, the CHGO Lounge. Every Monday we take questions from our diehards. And
I didn't mention that, but glad we did.
Oh, well,
continuation of the ad read.
Yep. Shout out to our guy AJ. Do you think it's actually possible to truly and passionately root for both the Sox and Cubs? What are your opinions on people who claim to do so? I find this to be a complicated sociological issue in the city of Chicago. Thoughts?
It's a good question. It's fun. AJ always comes up with the good ones.
When I was a child, I didn't think you can possibly be both because you have to pick a side and you have to be on the other side and say the other team sucks. But as I got older, I'm like, no, I don't mind watching the Cubs when the White Sox are not playing. Even their brand of baseball is suitable to me. I enjoy watching the Cubs sometimes, and I think somebody who isn't a dyed-in-the-wool White Sox fan more likely would be both Cubs and Sox fans. And so, I think it's very, very actually in practice by most people. My guy, Lawrence Atkins, he told me a long time ago, like 15 years ago, that he's a Cubs Sox fan. And I was like, no, that's not even a thing. And now as a 45-year-old man, I'm like, yeah, do it. It's perfect. It's a perfect thing to do. Cheer for the city, and whichever one wins, you'll go for, because this team doesn't, it's not like the city is winning championships every year and you got to pick one or the other. This team is in the city is like starved for championships. And so, if you want to be just a Chicago baseball fan and you enjoy both teams, I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that.
As someone who is a Cubs fan that does the Sox show often, I like supporting, like the way you said it, supporting the city. I think it's fun to go to the games regardless. I am a Cubs fan, though, but I go to Sox games. I've been to a bunch of them. It's a fun stadium. Food is better there than at Wrigley. I just think it's fun. Support the city. If the Cubs are doing great, that's awesome. If the Sox are doing great, that's awesome. If they play each other in a game, though, I'm always going to root for the Cubs. But, I just think it's fun. And how awesome would it be if you did have 2 star baseball teams in one city? That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know what that feels like.
I don't know either.
The answer is do whatever you want.
That's true. But
the way I will answer that question, because you said, is it possible to root for both? That's a great question. If you've got the time, go ahead. The thing that I would say is that sounds very just difficult to passionately dedicate not only your emotion, but just your waking hours to following not one, but 2 teams that have a 162 game schedule. It just seems like it would take a lot of effort to make that happen. If you can do it, more power to you. The pluses, I would think, is that you get to go to both sides of town. Mm-hmm. You get to explore multiple neighborhoods, and you get to, just kind of have the experience, the unique experiences that come with both. You get to have both. It's very unique. Obviously, it only exists in one other place in the country that you could have 2 teams in your city because, as we established earlier, Orange County, Los Angeles County, 2 different counties.
and you can actually see every team come into town, because sometimes, everybody plays everybody, but sometimes the Cubs will not be hosting the Anaheim Angels. The White Sox will be. Go and see your man, Tim Anderson, next year.
You could, if he's there. I laid out the pretty strong case for him to go to the Dodgers. Again, shortstop's open.
And so number 7, right.
So, William's saying, I started watching Cubs when Fergie and Ernie were on the team. Then the Sox had Melton and Dick Allen. and I switched forever. Lee is saying, I hate the Cubs because I'm a Sox fan, and I hate the Sox because I'm a Sox fan. Very good to add on there. And AJ saying, too many Cubs fans were mean to me growing up, which I also experienced. I don't think that Cubs fans are meaner now that I have grown.
Everyone can be mean.
Less childish motivations. But to the question, I think you're right. I think it's too much of a time dedication.
Right.
You can't actually truly root for both teams at the same time just because of the 162 games. I think every Chicagoan should do the doubleheader when it's possible. I have not done it because usually we're covering games.
Correct.
But if there are 2 games in the same day and you could take the red line,
night game.
yeah,
Especially pitch clock now makes it way more possible too.
It's true. I would absolutely support that. But what I don't support, and William, I think he's fine because he said started as a Cubs fan, then went to the Sox, stayed forever. As I've laid out on this podcast before, I was a Cubs fan in 2004. Obviously, the heartbreak of 2003 was tough, but then 2004, Sammy corking his bat was too much for me as a 7-year-old to handle.
You had principles.
Morally, yeah.
As a young boy, you had principles.
So after the 2004 season, I became a Sox fan, and of course, obviously, that kind of cements it there. So I think if you are you either have to be a fan of both, you have to have a team, you can't be a flip-flopper, right? I am fine with fair weather fans, like the people that you're just searching for a good vibe.
Do whatever
you're just
you want.
searching for a good time, right? But
The more people care about baseball, the better. That's what I say.
I don't think I think if you are staking a claim and saying, "Oh, the Cubs are my team," and then 2 years later you're at a White Sox game being like, "Oh, the Sox are my team," if you're doing that like every 2 years, then we have a problem.
It's like a congressional term.
Yeah,
Every 2 years, you switch it up.
You know, we can bring in to settle this, John Cusack.
that's true.
He's a Cub and White Sox fan and has been
He does
vociferous.
it. He does it well.
Yes, he's on both sides, planting flags on both sides. So yeah, I think you can be that, but yeah, you can't be like dyed in the wool every day watching each of those teams. That's what I have a different definition for fan. It's does that team and their results affect your mood? If it doesn't, you're not really a fan to me. But
wow.
it's your fan. It's your fan. You're just an observer. For me, the White Sox affect my mood. The Bears affect my mood. The Bulls don't. So I'm not a fan of the Bulls. That's how I feel. The Cubs don't really affect my mood if they're winning or losing.
Well, and AJ said, I mean, passionately. I mean, you don't seem passionately a Bulls fan. So
No,
again,
if they lose, they lose.
I mean,
but if Io does well, I'm in.
I'm with Jim. You know, I mean, you can't root for both, but also they don't directly compete against one another. So
wish they did, though.
if the Sox are out of the playoffs, it's not like if I had to pick a team and the Cubs are in the playoffs and the Sox weren't. What am I losing if the Cubs win the World Series?
Yeah.
The White Sox weren't one of the 12 teams to make the playoffs. They had no chance. I don't care if it's the Cubs, if it's the Rangers, if it's the Padres, if it's the A's. If it's not the White Sox, I'm pretty pissed.
Have your civic pride, folks.
Yeah, and true. I mean, it's best for the company. I'm a company man at the end of the day. That's Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. Read his latest piece at allchgo.com.
Oh, wow, Herb's got something.
I got to do FOCO.
Oh,
The set decorations, like that man Tim Anderson on the end.
Here he is on the red line where you could do that's how you do the doubleheader.
Boom. FOCO.
You ride the red line like the TA bobblehead.
They donated these set pieces like that one and the Southpaw one behind us. Go show them some love. So get fitted out on the best sports gear around: hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. It is not baseball season anymore, but they still do have aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, bags, and everything you need for a game. Check out foco.com or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off.
that's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at Eckerwall23, and you can go to foco.com. Herb didn't mention the Andrew Benintendi Arkansas bobblehead that you can go buy.
Woo, pig suey!
Going back to the icebreaker, and I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show, and thank you to Vinny for the Woo Pig Suey. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.